Thank you, neighbor. My God. I have lost 350 subscribers over the last just 4 or 5 months. And how I do this. The neighbors got loud and the dog is barking. Am I live? Let's see. First things first. I don't know. I think I'm live. If I am, welcome to Can Angels Fly, Tarot and More. My name is Nancy, and I'll begin in just one moment. As soon as I went live, the neighbors turned on some music, so I might get copyright strikes. The dog started barking. What a wonderful day. This one is. What else did I say? I wanted to pull up. I can't even remember. Hi, Rising Vibrations. How are you? I'm going to start again. Welcome here to Can Angels Fly, Tarot and More. My name is Nancy. And as you can see, the subject matter of this live stream is man will not admit his fall. Now, where am I and how do I get to me? Hold on. Okay. What are they doing? Hello. I hope all is well with you. Well, it's a couple of things. Well, this is a long live stream. I'll say this. Can you see me? Oh. And it's the neighbors that are not loud. They just got loud. I guess everybody needs to unwind. Maybe I should shut the window. That might help. I don't see me showing. I'm good, thank you. Great that you are broadcasting here. Okay, now I'm showing. Okay, well, I'll just. Shut the whole window. Maybe that. You are okay. I'm on camera. Okay. As always, this live stream is gonna be long. I'm long-winded, and I'm here to talk about a few things if I can remember. It's some things I want to talk about before I begin, and it has to do with our current situation and circumstance that we find ourselves in, which is dealing with a pandemic, as well as being quarantined, and then there being, I guess, a rescue mission or a relief mission, which is the stimulus payout. And my mind has been just constantly going over all of these things. I'm trying to get ahead of everything that's going on, because I know that there's always a bigger agenda. I tell y'all that I have been dealing with this system for a long time. I watched my mom deal with this system, and I know the underhanded tactics that they use, and I know some of the of our social construct secrets. I know what they're capable of. And then in my own life, I experienced it directly. And so when stuff like this happen, I can't help my mind trying to run ahead, to get ahead of what's taking place, so I don't get caught slipping. And I haven't been able to figure anything out until today. How can I say this? Because I want to say it, because I know this live stream is going to be long, and at any given time something could just make me terminate it. And so I just want to put this out here so we all had a heads up. Let's see. So before we begin to cover the subject matter, I'm talking about everything we're going through. Now, I should have saved this quote that I found when I was doing my research a couple of weeks ago, but I just didn't understand how relevant the quote was. So I can't quote it verbatim. But the quote was saying, whoever said it said, hey, basically, when you destabilize an economy and it is the need for a relief fund or stimulus, it was saying, hey, don't be too quick to terminate the stimulus. Give the stimulus to the people, because there's an optimal time to withdraw it. And the period from the onset of a disturbance to the economy until the moment that it is decided that a stimulus package is pulled is a time period in which the powers that be are using to, I'll say, set up the social construct in a way that's favorable to them in their ultimate agenda. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't even know, because I don't have no notes on this. This is just the thoughts that came to me. And so, how can I say this? If a person is like myself, when all of this started happening, what started happening? Having to quarantine, businesses shutting down, stimulus checks being distributed. A person may very well have said, hey, that's a lot of debt being acquired, by the country, our country, at least the United States. But I'm sure that's also the case in other on other continents in this world. But of course, the primary focus is on the United States, because that's where I am. So what am I saying? I'm saying, so when you get this idea like, dang, we were already in debt to like China, then we just, I can't concentrate when there's a lot of noise. We intentionally have created trillions of dollars more debt in, with stimulus packages and stuff. We realize that the debt is astronomical. See, it's a lot of stuff going on. The debt is intentional. I talked about that before. The powers that be are aware that it's no way that we can get out of that debt. It can only be reset. Now, if I get up, I'm going to go act a fool. I'm going to act a fool. Because I done told him. Anywho. Back to that quote. That same person that made the quote that I can't officially quote because I didn't know it was going to be so relevant. In that quote, they were also saying, the bigger agenda is going to be fulfilled down the line. And the bigger agenda down the line to be fulfilled is there's going to be increased taxation and a few other things. Some of the things I remember are increased taxation. What was it called? Bulk, no, bulk. Like bulk supplies prices will be astronomical. Food prices will be higher. People won't earn as much, and their quality of life is going to have to change or be downsized. Intentional. So what am I saying? Oh, so many things. They don't even play this kind of music. Oh, he cleaning the yard, feeling himself. Okay, I feel him. So, what am I trying to talk about? What am I trying to talk about? What I'm trying to say is, hey, hi, George. What's up with you? Everything is well, doing well. I'm talking about this stimulus that they've distributed to people. Remember, there's a bigger agenda. We can't see it. Okay. So there is a bigger agenda that the powers that be are moving to accomplish. It's like, how can I say, right now, the powers that be have decided to take a loss, or what seems to be a major loss. But they already know, unlike most people, general populace, unlike most of the general populace, that they have a greater plan and agenda. And that greater plan and agenda consists of at least one thing. I'll say this because I'm going to lose my line of thought. And it is how can I say it? What is it, Nancy? Y'all, I'm sorry. My mind is out the window with the neighbors, my kids, the dog. So my mind is scattered. There's going to be I got my www.dictionary.com opened up. But there is going to be I'll look up some words. I need the right word. And hopefully my computer and internet will work. I'm looking for a word, y'all. There's going to be a reduction. A waning. I'm in www.dictionary.com under the synonyms for decrease. Or cutback. Best word, cutback. To various programs that the government has funded in the past. What do you want? I just told you. Phone. I'm sorry. And tell that dog to shut up. Tell Mike to shut her mouth before I come out this room. Sorry. So there's going to be a cutback. Now check this out. Most people that access government benefits, whether it's some type of subsidy for utilities or subsidy for housing or subsidy for food assistance, I don't know, subsidy as far as medical, most people that are eligible for these subsidies fall in the bracket of the poor unemployed. I mean, the poor employed, the employed poor, the employed poor. The employed poor work usually between 30 and about 50 hours a week, but still don't earn enough to sustain the lives of themselves and those up under their care. So they are eligible for a subsidy, you know, in those different areas, division, whether it's food, housing, utilities, food, housing, utilities, child care, you know, the subsidies that are out here. So y'all ride this wave with me. Ride this wave with me. See what into the future. So the government creates a stimulus package that says we gonna give, you know, that a subsidy package that includes, because I'm just talking about a part of the stimulus package. That's a subsidy package, stimulus package. I'm just talking about one part of it. Those that were their employment was negatively affected by the COVID-19, you know, outbreak. So the criteria that they put out here, at least in Michigan, basically opened the door up for everybody and anybody to apply for unemployment and get approved. How can I say this? So I forgot how I should have looked it up, but I just got this. So people jumped right on it and applied for unemployment. People that were literally laid off due to the COVID-19 outbreak. People that got sick, people that had to care for sick people with, because of the virus, or had kids, that had to travel. I forgot all the stipulations, but there was such a extensive list of criteria a person can fit up under in order to legally file a claim to receive unemployment. So anyway, the unemployment rate across the country is at an all-time high, right? So understand this. In the state of Michigan, the base amount that they are offering a person that is approved for unemployment is $160 per week. We're going to say in a 4-month period, you got to ride the wave with me. I mean, in a 4-week period, 4 weeks at least, create a month. So we're talking about 4 times $160 is about 4 times 4 times 100 is 400. 4 times 60 is was it 240? 240 plus 400 is $640 a month, right? Per person. Now that doesn't sound like a lot of money, and we know that it's not. But believe it or not, that base amount of $160 a week boots anybody that receives any form of subsidy, whether it's food, shelter, healthcare, etc., off the program. It will be deemed that they make too much. Ride that wave. Believe it or not, the people that work, I'll say these basic jobs, make a minimum wage, at least in my area, many people barely maxed out at 40 hours. They might get 30 hours. And that was some tactic employers use not to have to provide help with, paying the health care and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to say people were maxing out 30, 35 hours per week. They were barely making $160 a week. So they still were eligible for some form of subsidy from these different constructs in our government. But because the amount that they're paying out, the base amount that the government has decided to pay out, exceeds that amount, my point is saying they're going to knock all of these people. This is the overall agenda. They're going to knock all of these people off of these different subsidies, such as, remember, we got to go back a couple of years prior, where it was this big hoopla. Over the last 3 to 5 years, a big hoopla over SNAP. My thing starting to glitch. SNAP, which is food, some type of food stamp benefits, and a food subsidy. You know what I'm saying? They were talking about how they wanted to end the program. They started reducing the amount families getting. So ride the wave with me. All of this stimulus money that is being offered to people under the unemployment program is counted as their income. And that income will make people ineligible for these supplemental benefits. Now, mind you, the unemployment benefits that have been released and are being released is temporary. Remember, we talked about a temporary scaffolding in the live stream I did called A New World Order Under Construction. Okay, so this the unemployment benefits is just a scaffolding system. It's a temporary tactic to deal with the current situation, the pandemic, that we're facing. So what am I saying? It will end. It will end eventually. So what am I saying? They're gonna cause everybody, or a lot of people, not everybody, a lot of people to fall into a pit. And that pit is gonna announce itself at the point in time when the unemployment runs out, if it goes that far. Because at that point in time when the unemployment runs out, that is going to be the moment that people realize that they no longer are eligible for those subsidies. See, the people that receive any form of subsidy, if it's cut off while they're getting the unemployment, it's not going to really, hit home. But when that unemployment ends, that's when the people will realize that those programs aren't there for them anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? And now they have to go back to work again, making less than the $160 that they're getting while on unemployment. Do you get what I'm saying? And this is across the border. So imagine the whole, I don't know what the imagine the whole supplemental program that's out here, whatever the government supplements, being emptied out as a direct result of unemployment being paid out. And remember, it's not just the state unemployment that people are receiving. The federal stepped in and added an additional $600. Now, based on what my research has rendered me, it suggests that the $600 would not be used to be calculated in most, I guess, programs in which subsidy is a part, which doesn't make any difference because you got to catch the wave. The $160 a week, like in the state of Michigan, $160 a week base payment unemployment is more than enough to knock everybody off of food assistance, everybody off of child care, everybody off of the utility company supplements, whatever they may be. What is other supplements? It's child care, it's food, it's housing, it's medical. It knocks them all off. So between now and when the unemployment period ends, everybody will be knocked off of those things. So I'm sharing that because I think it's important for us to be conscious of what's taking place, because remember, there's a bigger agenda. The overall agenda is to reset our social construct as well as our economy. And that's one of the ways that it is being done. And so this is the catch. I was talking about a pit. That pit that will announce itself at the point when unemployment expires. And everybody's unemployment is going to expire around the same period, because everybody got on unemployment around the same period due to the same situation, which is the COVID-19 outbreak. So all of that is going to shut down at the same time, and people are going to find that they don't have any income, and they're going to have to find jobs. There's going to be less jobs because the stores have closed down. Now I could talk on. Y'all know I'll be all over the place. Yesterday I was looking on online, and I noticed that a furniture store, a long-standing furniture store in my area, closed back in March. They filed bankruptcy. They started with Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and I think that's where they consolidate. And then they went from Chapter 11 bankruptcy into Chapter 7 bankruptcy, meaning just wipe it out. I'm done. They was done with their business. And the name of that furniture store is Art Van, long standing. And then I saw something online talking about possibly, I think, J.C. Penney's, Bath and Body Works. All these places are closing. So that what suggests then that there's not going to be um, enough jobs or enough jobs out here, job openings for people to even get employed. So I think that we really need to start preparing for the opening of the new year of 2021. Another thing I said in the live stream I created a week or two ago, I said, hey, based on my experience and what I know, they're going to rewrite bankruptcy laws. Y'all tell me why I found this accountant here on YouTube that I've been watching and following, and he said the same thing. Now, he's a professional with a license or a degree, certification, in that field. He said the same thing. So I'll say it again. If you got any outstanding stuff hanging on you that you can't handle, right now is the time to file bankruptcy under the current bankruptcy laws, because they're very lenient. So do it yourself. Do it yourself. I know I'm about to, because you don't want to go into 2021 with any debts hanging over your head, with subsidies, different subsidy programs. And when I say subsidy programs, understand I'm talking about anything that you can reach out to your local government and say, hey, I need some help. I fell behind, even if you ain't on the welfare system. See, let me tell you something. And I hope y'all with me. I can't tell. Everything just still from my perspective, so I'm just talking. We have been brainwashed. When I say we, I'm just about people in general, have been brainwashed to believe that the only people that benefits from the government subsidies, whether it's city, state, or federal, are poor people. It's not just poor people. It's all type of people that get assistance. Sometimes it's seniors, it's retired people, it's people that made enough reasonable living and got sick or fell off or something like that. There are all types of subsidies out here, but the loss of subsidies hurts more the poor. You get what I'm saying? The poor. And so what I'm saying, if you're a person and you're at a questionable level of financial stability, questionable level, then you got to do what you can do right now in order to minimize the negative impact that's going to come toward us, that's going to hit us in early 2021. Another thing I think is going to happen, and I'll be surprised if it don't, is that, and I do believe yesterday I heard that. Oh, I got so much to talk about, y'all. Yesterday I think I heard it. I'm not sure. Is that back to the unemployment? It's the basic unemployment that a state gives the unemployed person, and it's also the federal subsidy that is also given if a person is filing unemployment as a direct result of the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So that's $760 per week. That what if our government just snatches it or cuts the program off, that subsidy off? Oh, wow. That's the catch. Cuts that subsidy off mid-drift. Soon as people get the first payment or so, cut it off like Indian givers and take it back. Because they might say, use this excuse, hey, this is not going well. People won't go back to work. So we're going to take this $600 fund and we're not going to give it to them. We're going to use it, if anything, as an initiative to try to get them to go back to work. So when they take that back, because they may be Indian givers, all that's left is, like in the state of Michigan, is $160 a week, which is what? Greater than the it's a dollar too much to get any subsidies. You're no longer eligible for subsidies, but you got this $160 a week to live on, which we know is not enough. Are you getting what I'm saying? This is the game that's being played. Long haul, in the end, if none of this makes sense, is to shut down or diminish. What's the word I use? Cut back on all subsidy programs or federal funding, those kind of things. So watch out, watch that out. It was something else I want to say before I go into the subject matter, because this is going to be a really long live stream. You said, I'm curious, Nancy, what does your shirt say? I don't know, George. The media calls it the working poor. Thank you, George. What does it say? I hope it don't say nothing wrong. Heroes, friends, mothers, daughters. That it got too low. I may end up showing something. Visionaries, queens, rulers, women. Look, I almost showed something, George. Something else that I noticed that I'm working through, and I've been saying it a little bit here and there. I've been sensing it, and it's kept me from creating a lot of content here on YouTube. What I realized, I don't even know how to say this, so I'm off that subject matter. Friend to friend, I say, hey, get the debt off of you, file bankruptcy. I didn't make it. You know what I'm saying? Understand this, that the agenda, the plan is to make sure people are knocked off or not eligible for any subsidies. And then if there's nobody there to need the subsidies, they're not eligible for them anymore. The programs dwindle away or are broken down or taken away because there's no one that needs it. There's no one that's eligible for it. So you understand this. Next thing is to be a good steward over your finances. I got to try a little better. Be a good steward over your finances. If you can get ahead, get ahead. Because I really feel like it's a game. It's a game. And once we've been manipulated into a compromising position, that's when everything is going to come to light, and everything is a part of what I'm talking about. Anyway, so now the next thing, I wish they'd turn that music off. What is he doing? Oh. The next thing that became really obvious to me today is, like, I wanted to talk to y'all about that. And what I'm going to talk about today. Every time it was once a time that I literally had to make a video and publish a video here on YouTube or make a post on Facebook before I would get any suggested videos that dealt with the same subject matter as myself or similar. Something I'm seeing now, and I've been seeing for a while, but I was like, is that possible? And if so, how is it done? Still ain't figured it out. I ain't figured out what. How now this computer is capable of suggesting to me the videos or the topics or subject matters that I'm about to make before I make it. And when I say suggest, I mean, like, I've been working on this since my last live, writing it down and stuff. What I've noticed in the last couple of days, I've been seeing videos, I guess, I don't know what it's called, the homepage of YouTube. I've been seeing videos that cover what I'm talking about here. I've been when I do click on videos, it's talking about parts of what I'm talking about in here. And it's not like these videos that people are making are old or outdated. No, they all within this last week. All within this last week. And I apologize that I'm not really speaking effectively. Again, I'm really distracted now. It was quiet when I clicked start, and then it was like got loud, which makes sense because it lines up with what I'm talking about now. And what am I saying? I'm saying, hey y'all, whether we know it or not, when I say we, I'm talking about people that create humanity with a primary focus on the people that create our own intimate space, are riding the same wavelength. We have the same thoughts. The same thoughts. And I just don't want to point out the topics that I'm going to cover in this live stream to show you how we are having the same thoughts at the same time. How can I? To me, that suggests something. That suggests a power that we have collectively that we don't know that we have, and therefore we don't know how to master it and to use it. But I'm here to tell you, we do. And I talked about it before back, I think the last time I talked about this in depth is when that broomstick challenge happened. And I talked about in that broomstick challenge, I talked about it before because it keep coming up. In that broomstick challenge, I talked about how everybody was on seafood. I think it was the broomstick challenge. I said everybody was on seafood boil, seafood bake, everybody. I said now, I grew up during a time period where you had to call somebody on the phone to connect. And you'd be like, what you have for dinner? They say, oh, we had some fried chicken, some mashed potatoes, some cornbread, whatever. Be like, oh, we did too. And everybody you talk to had the exact same meal on the exact same day, and many times in the exact same hour. Be like, wow. And it was something that happened quite frequently. You know what I'm saying? Quite frequently. Didn't think about it back in the day. Then it happened, and I can see it clear now that we're connected through the internet. Like I said, one Christmas, I set up and made a video. I don't even remember what it was about. But I said, I find it interesting that one Christmas, everybody posted a picture of their tree. Every family posted a picture of their decorated tree. They went all out with the tree decorations. And I'm thinking I'm a unique person, so I done did it. I done made a Minnie Mouse tree and posted all my pictures. When I get online, it's people posting pictures of their trees everywhere. Not a person or a child in sight, just the Christmas tree, the process of putting it up, and the final fabulous product. It was everybody. I think last year, or no, the year before. I was like, wow, I find it interesting. Oh, was it Kiss Day? What video did I do? Because I talked about it in a particular video. I can't remember which one. But I was like, I find it interesting that this year on Facebook, me and my family got together and did professional family photos. And I'm thinking I'm unique and I'm fabulous. We, get our all red and our Santa hats and we make family photos, post them on Facebook. Turn around, look around. Everybody on Facebook that I know had done the same thing at the same time. They was just as equally as fabulous and creative as myself. They all took family photos. It wasn't about a Christmas tree or the gifts or anything. It was about the family unit where we literally set up and make the composition. We composed ourselves, set ourselves up, all dressed up, ugly Christmas sweater. You know what I'm saying? So my point is saying is we all have this like mind. That is something to this, y'all. And like I said yesterday, I clicked on the video and it talked about, like, some of the titles had to do with what I'm talking about. The videos that I clicked on talked about parts of what I talked about, and all of those videos within this last week, within 3 or 4 days. meaning our minds are all on the same frequency. We just aren't aware of it. We're overlooking it. And I'm telling y'all something. It's significant. And so I assume at some point in time we're going to find out the significance of it. And let me tell you something. Now, hold that in your mind, that we're entering into a new paradigm that is governed by what is it? AI, artificial intelligence, which is an accumulation of all the knowledge that humans have had, do have, or will ever have in this world. Everything from our ability to write, to sing, to articulate, our artistic abilities, all of that has been compiled into artificial intelligence. Yeah, AI, artificial intelligence. And that artificial intelligence, I find it interesting that it has come into existence at this time period. It needs 5G to fuel it, to allow it to run efficiently. At a time that humanity has the opportunity to see that we together function the same as that collective AI system. Are you getting it? Am I articulating that at all right? To say, hey, the powers that be had to harness our intelligence in order to continue to control us. Because the way I'm seeing it is that humanity, our minds are becoming one. And in the Bible it said, if you all have the same minds, it's not anything that you can accomplish. But see, the difference between us and AI is AI has a purpose. It is a collective, our collective consciousness, and it has a purpose. It's focused. It knows it's an accumulation of our consciousness. Us, we're divided, we are separated, and therefore we don't know we got to work, that we are working together. We don't know we're working together, and therefore we don't have a purpose. It's something to that. But I'm going to let that go. But that's one thing I want to make you aware of, so you can start paying attention, so you can see what some people call the synchronicities. Okay, that was long-winded. What time is it? I've been on here 42 minutes and they even started on the live. Okay, now what is this about? The title of this live stream is ICARUS. So I guess I'll start with ICARUS. And the reason I'm going to start with ICARUS is, what do they call it? Symbolic for man and man's ego. How can I say that? Now, ICARUS is from Greek mythology, and I couldn't find a brief story to read, so I'm gonna try to tell the story the best I can. Hello, I love you too, and thank you for dropping by. Please put a like on my video, greatly appreciate it. So I know this ICARUS was about a father and son, and it goes something like this. ICARUS and his dad got captured by somebody, and that somebody imprisoned them in a labyrinth. That labyrinth was so elaborate that they couldn't get out of it, and something about one side of it or something was like the Mesopotamian Sea, so they couldn't escape by sea. Y'all have to Google it. This is my rough tale of it. And so ICARUS' father figured out a plan. He figured he could create wings out of some type of branches, of some type of olive. It wasn't olive branches, but some type of branch, and some wax. And so ICARUS' father goes to work, and if they come mess with me, I'm gonna turn up. So, and they barbecuing, they listen to the rap loud. This is the good neighbor. Okay, everybody gotta unwind during quarantine. I'm gonna chill. Okay. So the father creates these wings out of branches and wax, And he teaches his son, Icarus, how to use the wings. The plan, hi Pam, is for Icarus and his father to fly out of the labyrinth and over the sea, whatever sea it was, I'm saying the Mediterranean, to freedom. And so Icarus' father teaches him how to use the wings. He constructs the wings, put them on Icarus and himself, teach Icarus how to fly and use the wings. But he told him there's one thing about these wings. It says don't keep rising, don't get too close to the sun. Because if you get too close to the sun is going to melt the wings and you're going to fall. Icarus say, okay. He learned how to use the wings. The day escape day come, him and his dad take off, they take flight. When Icarus get up in the air and see he can fly, he forget everything his dad tell him and he fly up too close to the sun. And of course, what happens, the wax that holds the wings, the branches together to make the wings melt. And Icarus plummets to his death, his demise. Now, I ain't tell that story completely right. So Icarus find out he can fly. He get real arrogant. This is the Icarus effect. He get real arrogant, egotistical. You know, he can fly. And so his father keeps telling him, hey, don't go up higher and higher and higher. But his ego, Icarus' ego, he just wanted to see how high he could go. So, and he wanted to keep going and soaring. So it was his ego that ended up leading him not to be able to see that he was headed to his own destruction. You get what I'm saying? So Icarus is symbolic of the fall of man. Okay, I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. Y'all know my lives is long. It's quarantine time anyway, so what the hell? How you doing, Pam? What's going on with you? This is Mr. Yisma. Yisela? L-L-R Saul. I'm reading deficient. But welcome anyway. I'm happy you caught me. Okay, so I just gave y'all the story of Icarus. Now, I'm going to do some more reading. Y'all know I'm reading deficient, but just ride the wave with me if you will. And we're going to go here. What's this? I don't even know what this is. I'm not ready for that. I need this. I'm just here. This is the wrong thing. Glory and honor to God. Glory and honor to God. Anyway, I'm at is it? Maybe. Yeah, this is it. Okay, y'all. Right now, where y'all at? Oh my God, all the noise. Okay, right now, y'all, I'm going to read, and it's a long read. Y'all know I'm reading deficient, but I'm going to try to read. To help offset my reading deficiency, I invite you to go to Bible Gateway. And what we're going to read right now is Revelations 18. We're reading it for a reason. I'm going somewhere with this. If you trust me, you know I'm going somewhere with this. You know I am. And you can hang in there. I just told you the Greek mythological story about Icarus. Now we're going to basically look at another aspect of that story in the Bible. And as you can see, this is the King James Version on Bible Gateway. It's NKJV, the New King James Version. I repeat, the New King James Version, Revelations 18. You say, I heard it a story about Icarus, that it was feathers and wax that they used to make the wings. But you get it, George. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I'm about to read this. I don't know how much of it I'm going to read because I don't feel like getting frustrated. I'm already on 10. So, Revelations 18. It says, and after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightened with his glory. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen. and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all nations have drunk of the wine of her. I don't know how this is going to look if I move up, but I need to see. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Let me see where I am here. So it's time to move up. I don't know if y'all can see this online or not, but I try. Okay. Going into the next, which is chapter 18, verse 4. It says, "And I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities." It says, "Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double upon her, double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled to her double." Ooh, okay. Give it to her double. Where is that? Okay, that's okay. If y'all can see it, it's still there. Still in the frame. Okay. "How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her." Amen. Okay. "And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning." Y'all, I'm trying to make sure what the site I have, because I got the site on this live for y'all, but I can't read that. I don't know if y'all can. So I'm just trying to make sure. Okay. It's in the frame. Y'all ride with me. I'm going somewhere with this. Okay. So, continuing. Revelations, chapter 18, verse 10. "Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, the great city of Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. The merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and of fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all twine wood, and all vine wood, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of ivory, and all manner vessels of most precious wood, and of brass, and iron, and marble." Still reading. We ain't got nothing else to do. Ride away with me. I'm going somewhere with this, if it goes well anyway. "And cinnamon, and odors." What is that? Where's my thing? I need this. What happened? Uh-oh, that ain't right. Is that right?
Odor.
No. Where am I at? Y'all ride the way with me. I'm not trying to rush. And cinnamon and odors. No, odors. That's it. Oh. It's
Odor.
same as, huh? Oh, okay. It's spelled different. Thought that. Wasn't sure. Had to make sure, y'all. Okay. Where am I at now? Okay. Anyway, continue reading. Revelations chapter 18, verse 13 reads, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beast and sheep and horse and chariots and slaves and souls of men and souls of men. That's deep. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are deported from thee, and all things which are dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. That's scary. The merchant of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, alas, alas, the great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? Oh, we almost done. We can do it. Where am I at? Ain't got nothing else to do. I'm chilling. Where am I at on y'all side? I really can't see this. And I don't know how to make it bigger. The part of the theater, which is dainty, and a great city. Okay. And they, okay. And they cast dirt on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city. What the heck is it? Wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate. Still reading Revelations chapter 18, now on verse 20. It reads, rejoice over her, thou, though heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters, shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. God. Okay. Y'all still in the frame. Two more verses. It says, and the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries, no, so I'm going For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. I'm in the background, y'all, doing what I do. I am going somewhere with this, but I'm slow motion. I'm actually doing a live study. Oh, a live study session. Excuse me. Sorcery. I had to make sure. The sorceries. Just had to make sure I was pronouncing that right. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. Last verse. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. All right. Thank y'all for hanging around while I did that read. I'm going somewhere with it. Let's see if I could turn it off. What's this here? Okay. So what have we done thus far? What have we done thus far? I can make myself really big now. I need a box I can be comfortable in. There I am. Okay. Hi, 1-2. How are you? ICARUS got distracted from the plan they were supposed to execute, which was escape. Right. But he failed to follow the plan because he got into himself and his newfound ability. Right. So what have we talked about thus far? We talked about the Greek mythical story, ICARUS. And ICARUS is about a person or a god that fell to his own demise because he couldn't focus on a plan, as George said, because he got arrogant because he learned he could fly. And he kept going higher and higher and higher and higher and couldn't stop himself. His ego had took control and he got too close to the sun. It melted the wax that held his wings on his back and into him. The next thing we just visited was the New King James Version Bible to read Revelation 8, chapter 18, verses 1 through 26, I think it was. And the reason why we read that is because it talks about the fall of Babylon and just how great Babylon was. Just like ICARUS was in his tale. He was great. And he could fly. He learned he could fly. He was great. Babylon is great. Great kingdom. And it both, what they call examples, whether it's ICARUS or Babylon, were able to rise to a level of excellence, but due to their own narcissism and egotism, went so far to end up being their demise. So at this time, before we move forward, I need to revisit some other subject matters we covered, or movies in this case. As you can see on this side of me, I don't know, from your perspective, is this the right side of me? I don't know. We're going to be revisiting something that was introduced to us a few years back. These papers, look, these papers have got a little old. They all stuck together. Let's see, when was this? I did it again, y'all. Wrote notes. I've been writing notes and setting them to the side, so I'm lost. Okay, we're going to revisit the movie Bird Box that premiered on Netflix back in December of 2018. It actually premiered December 14th, 2018. Around that same time, it was being publicized on the news that China had put something on the dark side of the moon, went over there exploring. And so we're going to look back at that time period of late 2018 because it is very significant to what we have going on now. At that time period, when the movie Bird Box premiered on Netflix, I decoded the movie. You can go find that video. It's called Decoding the Movie The Bird Box. And I did an excellent job decoding that. And I said I did an excellent job in decoding that movie because the way I decoded it is directly paralleled to what we're going through. Directly. At that time, I also decoded the significance of China landing a rover on the dark side of the moon and exploring the dark side of the moon. I decoded that as well. And my interpretation was on point in relationship. Was on point as those two things talked about and forewarned us of a time soon to come that we would all experience what? The dark side of our moon or our worst fears, etc., etc. I can't even think. I swear to goodness, I'm going to find a quiet moment. It's like nothing is quiet anymore. Everybody has their challenges. And so what am I saying? I'm saying in 2018, the powers that be, take your time, Nancy. You just don't hear sharing. Okay. I'm going to stop. Because I did a few live streams ago, I started diving off into some real, I don't know, off the wall stuff. When I say off the wall stuff, I'm talking about when I started talking about aliens or extraterrestrial beings. I'm glitching. Don't stress. So, when I was talking about extraterrestrial beings or draconians, some type of reptilian species, y'all know that's not my norm. But that's where my research had taken me. Since that time, I done pulled back. But of course, I still got that knowing now about that as a possibility. So, remember, when I started talking about reptilians, I also ended up going back into that King James Version Bible, and I think I was reading and decoding the book of Matthews, and what else was I in? Leviticus, Matthews, and something else. I think it was the book of Matthews, in a few of those chapters, that the God of this world was talking to his crew. That he assigned the task, or it assigned the task for his crew to come educate us, humanity. That God said to his crew, he said, I am a fair and just God. I demand that they know the truth. Now, they won't know the whole truth. He said it with a snicker. They won't know the whole truth, but they gonna know a partial truth. Yet they're gonna know the truth about what's happening. So I go back and I state that about the God of this world, and what he said about they gonna know the truth because I'm a fair and just God. They won't have no way. They won't be able to say they don't know. They won't be able to say they don't know. I got to go back even further. Because a few years back, I kept saying, hey, y'all, everything I'm studying suggests that we know. If you ride with me, you probably heard me say that a few times. I said, hey, y'all, it keeps seeming like it's saying that we know. We all know. It wasn't until I did those studies, last month, when I was reading in the King James Version Bible. I think it was in, again, what did I say, Matthews, that it says they gonna know. I required that they know. They won't know the whole truth, but they gonna know enough of the facts to be able to say they didn't know. right? So, that kind of flipped me out right there, because I was like, I kept picking that up in everything I was doing, from astrology, just, I told y'all when I was messing around in the law, anything medical, is like, they must know. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that whoever the God of this world is, it seems as if it's a narcissistic entity, but it also wants to be fair, or maybe at least see itself as fair, to see itself as not being a dictator. That's what it seems like. And so, as I was saying, it says, so we have to tell this human species the truth. They don't know the whole truth. Heck, they can't even comprehend the whole truth. But we gonna give them like just enough information so they can't say they didn't know. So I state that again, because remember, we're revisiting the movie The Bird Box. We are revisiting China's visit to the dark side of the moon, and before it's over, we're gonna also visit the cartoon series The Simpsons. Something I ain't never covered before, but I must go there. So ride the wave with me, if you will. I'm trying to get one. Trying to get what? A wave to ride. So, the movie The Bird Box. When I decoded that movie, number one, everything I encoded from that movie is everything we going through here. Only thing I didn't know was that it was going to be a coronavirus disease, the COVID-19. I didn't use those terms. You know what I'm saying? I didn't use those terms, but you can go watch that again. But everything else was on point, even to the point about being, what's this called, quarantined, having to stay in the house within a sanctuary, because that's what the movie Bird Box, a part of it was about, being quarantined and restricted. And so what am I saying? Remember, the God of the world said they have to know. How do you let 7.5 plus billion people in the world know the truth about any and everything? I guess one way is through media and film, and other ways are through music. It's through everything. Like I was saying a few years ago, it was in the law. It was in the medical stuff I was reading, and the terminology and the language. It's in everything. But for people that aren't, how can I say, an expert or advanced in any, or engaged in any field, branch, in any particular branch of knowledge, because remember we talked about the branch of knowledge, and I said it back then when we were studying the branches of knowledge. I said, hey, each branch of knowledge know a truth, and they have a considerable amount of information about what's really going on in this realm. So what am I saying? I'm saying no matter what field you work in, at a certain level, you become aware of some of these truths about what's going on in this world. Because this God said we will all know. And if you're not proficient in any one of those areas, and you just a layman and laywoman, well, then it's music and media. See, I thought that was a joke when people used to say, oh, it showed in the movies. I never looked at it like that. But now I do. After this movie Bird Box, I do. And me being able to interpret exactly what it was saying to a T. So, the movie Bird Box was saying to the general populace is what I'm saying. Just in case you're not an expert in any particular field in which you can access a message, the truth about this realm and what's going on and why it's going on and where we're heading. Just in case you're just a layman or laywoman. Well, the movie The Bird Box was released, and it was pushed so it would trend, because like I said, when I decoded it, it wasn't that great of a movie, but it was trending. Why? So that the general populace would know what was going on, what was soon to be taking place, and why. So the movie The Bird Box was a means for God's crew to get the message out. Because the God of this world said they must know. So, Emma, you getting it? Are you getting it? The whole publicity, all the publicity surrounding China putting a rover on the dark side of the moon and exploring over there. That was all of these things are subliminal. That, how can I say, subliminally informs us about what's going on. So what am I saying? I'm saying what we're going through and dealing with right now. The God of this world made sure that we knew about it ahead of time. By the closing of 2018, we all knew the truth. Therefore, we had a whole year to prepare. We had time to prepare, and these were things I even covered over that time frame. Because I covered over that time frame. I talked about getting your relationships in order, or letting go outdated or toxic relationships. Same thing the movie The Bird Box talked about. We talked about in other relationship dynamics, because Bird Box went into other relationship dynamics as well. And we talked about those things as far as family and friends on this channel too, at the appropriate time. Oh wow, yeah. Another thing, because I'm forgetting everything, the movie The Bird Box went into was about the sanctuary. You know, where they ended up at the end to be safe away from the shadows and of their worst fears and nightmares, the sanctuary. And so it let us know, hey, get rid of those relationships, get prepared, and whatever else. And it said, understand you're going to be shut in and know how to prepare. Again, go back and watch that. I'm trying not to go into too deep into anything. Otherwise, this video is going to be so long. I'm trying. Okay, anyway, so what am I saying? In short, I'm saying the God of this world made sure that the world's populace, or at least in the United States, that the populace was warned about what was going on and where things were headed. And I had to stop and say it like that because I understand that there are multiple continents, 195 countries in the world. And so I'm saying each continent and country, we stay focused, Nancy. We talked about cults and cultures and the differences and how we all receive the necessary information that we need to receive, but it is tweaked based on our geographic location. We talked about it. Okay, so I say that because I be tripping when I look back at the work I've done, and then what I'm seeing now, it all line up. So anyway, we all been informed. Y'all know how we've been informed here in the United States through one of the things is the movie The Bird Box. The other is this all this news about China going to the dark side of the moon. Okay, we were informed. I'm all over the place, y'all. Just ride the wave with me. I'm gonna read, Pam. You know I can't see, my eyes getting worse. But I'm gonna talk about The Simpsons. I think I can talk about The Simpsons now. Now something, it might just be coincidence, and it may not be. But something I want to just point out, not that any of this is in order, nor does it make any sense, but I want to point it out. I wonder if there's any astrological significance to the time period that the movie The Bird Box premiered on Netflix on December 14th, 2018, and when The Simpsons first premiered on December 17th, 1990. Why do I ask, is there any astrological significance there? It is because that is a 28-year cycle or difference between the premiering of those two very significant programs. And the 28-year cycle corresponds with the planetary body Saturn, which talks about restriction, limitations, hallelujah, and boundaries. I wish I could speak so I could get what's in here out here so y'all can hear what I can look. I can see it here, but I can't speak it out here. I wish y'all could see what was in here. Yeah. Anyway, is there astrological significance? Remember, the 28-year cycle corresponds with the planet Saturn. Saturn represents restrictions, boundaries, limitations. Now, in the movie The Bird Box, remember, the characters, especially the main character, her name was Mallory in the movie The Bird Box, the main character. She was emotionally constricted. She had been wounded through many disappointments in her life. I say because this video is not about it. But by the end, she wasn't, in the beginning, she was just mentally and emotionally restricted. She had to overcome those restrictions. Oh, come on, camera. In order to deal with the situation and circumstance she found herself in the course of the movie. Raggedy ass camera's been on it. I'm gonna toss this chair out the window. Don't start with me, camera. I'm going somewhere with all this rambling, y'all. Y'all know I am. What am I going to do with this? I think my son took my other camera. Now, my other camera never did this. Okay, now where is that other part of this at? Okay. I'm back. 28-year cycle is significant to the planet Saturn. So, in the movie The Bird Box, in the beginning, the main character Mallory was mentally and emotionally constricted. She had to overcome those the limitations, self-imposed limitations that she had set up because of her disappointments in life. That was her emotional response to restrict, to limit, how she felt, how she interacted with people, how she connected, etc., etc. By the end of the movie Bird Box, it went from her dealing with emotional restriction with actual physical restriction, because she was then, as the rest of the surviving characters in the movie were, quarantined or constricted or contained within a safe haven. Okay, so that's Saturn, right? And then Saturn also says this. It says, okay, once you know what the boundaries are, like first you had the emotional boundaries. Once you know what those boundaries are, what do you need to do to be able to, cope successfully in the world, knowing you got these limitations? Still talking about the movie Bird Box. By the end of the movie Bird Box, now she's physically restricted within a safe haven. Now that you are aware that you are restricted or have to stay within these boundaries in order to be protected from the shadow beings outside that show you your worst fears, what type of tactics do you need to put in place so that you continue to live your life, to the best of your ability? That's what Saturn asks. And so now, again, remember, it's 28 years. That's the time period. 28 to 30 years is Saturn time period or cycle. So 30 years prior to the premiere of the movie Bird Box, almost to the day, was the premiere of The Simpsons. And remember, we're talking about the time period of Saturn. So, how can I say this? What why can't I show y'all? It's deep, y'all. Whoever the God of this world is deep. How can I show y'all without stressing myself out? Please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. So anyway, I'm gonna keep moving forward. I don't know if I can. Okay. I'm gonna come back to that. What am I gonna come back to? Is that there is a significance between The Simpsons and 28 years the premiere release of the movie Bird Box. Understand that Saturn says, hey, these are your boundaries. Stay within them. Learn how to basically live your best life with these boundaries or limits or restrictions in place. So I'm gonna have to come back to that. Oh, it's Memorial Day weekend. Sure enough is. Sure enough is, Pam. And I done had multiple people say it to me. I'm about to partake in my vices, y'all. I got the box of wine. I got one more squeeze in there. I could just take the bag and just... Because I was drinking last night because I was going to go live last night. But my internet was messing up and my computer was messing up. I was like, okay, I'm not even going to force it. I was going to go live the day before. And I just was procrastinating. And I got to get over the spirit of procrastination. Because this is not the time to procrastinate, y'all. It is not. And I know it. Pam says, yes, if you watch The Simpsons, you will realize it's educational. And The Simpsons told us who our president would be. And now we are living it. So true. But it even goes deeper than that. Believe it or not, Pam. Ain't that something? A TV cartoon series is what the God of this world allowed his minions to use to inform the general populace. That's deep. I act silly and stuff to take the edge off, but I'm really a serious, very serious minded person. People say I don't smile. I'm nice, social, cordial, but my point is saying that I'm so rigid. Again, I'm ruled by Saturn, but I'm rigid is because that's something that I would never have truly imagined. Had somebody, if I watched me, I would like, oh, okay, I needed something to entertain me. I would have watched me so I could be entertained. If I was somebody else, I would watch my content just to be entertained, just to hear somebody talk, just because I'm bored. But I would not believe them. But because it's me doing the research and I'm seeing it for myself, I got to take it, seriously. Because I know me. And the God of this world said that's the way to do them. Tell them about through a cartoon. Get the heck out of here. People kept saying that. And that's why I be telling y'all, notice about my channel. I didn't do it intentionally. And I see here on YouTube has given me the ability to see that everything I talk about, I put the whole story together. From being a basic everyday person. I tell y'all about everything I experienced and how I came to see what I've seen in my life. And now, in retrospect, I look back, since being here on YouTube over the last 6 years, I look and I find people that talk about this one subject matter, but they don't talk about how it connects to anything else. And so I finally saw where I fit here on YouTube. I tell where it fit in at. Where again, a person may talk about one subject like aliens, or one subject, I don't know, whatever it is, or another subject. I tell a whole doggone story. I'd be like, well, yeah, they know what they talking about, but they only talk about that part. I'm talking about the whole doggone thing because I experienced the whole doggone thing. I know how it fit. And so what am I talking about now? Because I know it seems like I'm rambling, because I am. Is that I have heard people talk about how media, films, and music are used to convey messages to the world's populace. Very vital information. Actually, about subject matters that have to do with our well-being, physical well-being, as well as the state of our soul. That's serious stuff when you start talking about the state of my soul. And so you mean to tell me that the God of this world put truly vital information, allowed his or its minions to put vital information that has to do with my soul in music, in movies and films and things. That's what you did. Okay. That's hard to believe, but that's what I'm seeing too, so okay. Anyway, I'm all over the place. So, where am I going? How can I do this? I'm a read what I got here because I was supposed to read. Number one, I was supposed to say we're going to revisit the movie Bird Box that premiered on Netflix back in December 14, 2018. I wrote, refer them to the video I made called The Meaning of the Movie Bird Box that I published on December 30th of 2018. Then I wrote themes addressed over the course of the movie. This is all the stuff I just talked about. Number one, one of the themes that was covered over the course of the movie is the emergence of an invisible threat that rides in the air. And a person had to be exposed visually to the pandemic, so people wore blindfolds. Now I wrote, how does that theme compare to our current situation? Well, it says an invisible pathogen that rides the air now threatens the world population. And a person can be exposed to the virus several ways, but primarily by breathing. So people are now wearing face masks that cover their nose and mouth. Now that was easy. Why didn't you just do that? Wasn't enough drama. Next theme, still dealing with the movie Bird Box, is the various dynamics in partnerships, relationships, marriage, such as conflict resolution, truces, agreements, gaining concord, friendships, desired partnerships, or necessary partnerships. Hopefully I made that make sense. What was I just talking about? One of the themes that was visited in the movie Bird Box was about relationships, partnerships. Those relationships and partnerships, some of them being desired and others being necessary. Anywho, next theme. The young, restless lovers were also present in the movie Bird Box. And it represents people that have a restless spirit and mind and cannot sit still with themselves. They are prone to thoughtlessness and reckless behavior and never take others' well-being into consideration. How does that theme compare to our current situation? Well, many people, but mostly youths, have had a difficult time coping with and or adhering to the order to stay at home or to quarantine themselves until further notice. We have witnessed mass cookouts, parties, and other overcrowded social activities. People are also having a problem with just being 6 feet apart in order to execute social distancing. Well, the next thing, still dealing with the movie Bird Box, basically talking about what I've been talking about, and I should have just read it, but I wouldn't have been dramatic enough. So, number 3 thing, having to be or move to a safe haven to protect self from the looming threat. How does that theme compare to our current situation? Well, currently humanity is required to stay home, and movement is restricted in order to minimize the spread of the infection. The next thing, the invisible threat caused people to see their worst fears, to stand face to face with their darkest concerns that most could not withstand. So, how does that thing compare to our current situation? Remember, I'm still comparing our current situation to the movie Bird Box that premiered in 2018. Well, due to the strange happenings, such as that vast deadly threat, sudden infrastructure slowdown, closure to businesses, food shortages, and rising prices, and empty shelves. Oh, I see. Being quarantined, 6 feet social distancing, etc., has led many people to stand face to face with one or more of their own fears and or demons. Is it another one? Let's see, one more. Number 5. It says the normalization of the massive change that has happened to reality. Get used to it and accept it as the new norm. What am I saying? Just like in the movie The Bird Box, our current situation is edging us on to accept our responses to the pandemic as our norm, such as being quarantined and social distancing and limiting our movement. That they want that to be our norm. And just like in the movie Bird Box, it calls for those characters to adjust to the circumstance that they were confronted with, and to adjust to it to the point that it became their norm. Okay, on. Should have still been reading. Let's see. Now let's briefly revisit. I'm trying to read my writing, which I should have did, but it wasn't enough drama, but I'm going back, okay. Brief revisit about what? China landing a rover on the dark side of the moon. They found a green-colored gel. What it really represented was the moon represents or is equivalent to our emotions and the emotional man. It is the exploration of China that suggests that China would be the target to people, be the trigger. China would be the trigger to people seeing and experiencing the dark side of their own moon. That is to say emotions, that is to say feelings, the overall influence of their upbringing and or their current state of emotional stability. What was I just saying? I'm saying because they were publicizing China going over there messing around on the dark side of the moon, that let us know back then that China was going to be the trigger to all of this. You can go back and watch my decoding of that. And I'm still going somewhere with it. I still ain't got where I'm going, but I'm on my way now. Okay, what else? Now at this time, I want to look at The Pluto and Scorpio generation. I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. And we are nowhere near over. We're hour and 40 minutes in. The night is young. The Pluto and Scorpio generation. I got to come back to that screen. I got to go to this screen now. The Pluto and Scorpio generation range is from November 1983 to November 1995. I repeat, we're talking about a particular generation, and that generation is the Pluto and Scorpio. Did I say that? Generation. And that Pluto and Scorpio generation primary time period is November 1983 to November 1995. If I didn't say it right, 95. This generation's parents. So I want to talk about that generation's, those kids born during that time period. I want to talk about their parents. Now, most of their parents, we're going to say, were born in 1963. We're going to say at least 20 years prior, 1963, and give or take some years. Now, this generation, their parents, they were socially, again, it depends on what culture you are, or race you are. But so I'm generalizing everything here to make a point. I know what I'm doing. I'm generalizing. So I'm talking about these kids' parents that were probably born 1963, give or take a few years. These people, these parents were like the first generation of young people that went off to college, especially like in the black community. Especially in the black community. So what I'm saying? I'm saying that the Pluto and Scorpio generation, their parents, were the first ones, especially in the black community, to go off to college in the where they come banging through here. The quantity that they did. They were the generation of the largest degree holding people and or professionals. What they call it? Educated professionals. That particular generation was like the first real generation, I say, of strong middle class, or the strong middle class. That's when I believe it was the strongest. Because let me go back. The Pluto and Scorpio generation that was born between 1983 and 1995, I'm talking about their parents. And then I'm also talking about the generation before that, their grandparents. So their grandparents their grandparents really obliged the system. Whatever they said, they followed the status quo, and they started building the country up for real. But when they made that money, those grandparents made that money, they invested in their own children. And their own children, their real big investment was sending them off to college. So that generation, that Pluto and Scorpio's parents, went off to college, got degrees, accolades, credentials, certifications, etc., etc. They became our professionals. Now, that particular generation really had, again, to me, signifies the strongest period of the middle class. Again, that was the highest quantity of college graduates. And because these people, again, I know I'm generalizing it because there are so many different cultures and so many different races. I got that. So I'm trying to generalize it. I'm trying to say that those parents were some of the most self-entitled people, they were because they were very privileged. Their parents finally had paved the way and earned enough for people to have a reasonable lifestyle. Then they themselves went off and got educated and got decent jobs and were traveling and living big, doing big. They were buying homes, inheriting their parents' home when they got old and or dying. So they had real estate, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying they were just doing it big. It was a particular type of people. And that set of people I'm talking about, which is what? Right now I'm talking about the Pluto and Scorpio generation, which is what? 1983 to 1985. They parents. I'm talking about their parents. They were a particular unique type of people. So I want to talk about them. They were the victims of like the crack epidemic. I'm supposed to read, y'all, so I'm trying to read. So still talking about that generation. They were college graduates, some, many, more than any other generation. They became a strong middle class, especially in the black community, more than any other generation. They were highly privileged, more than any other generation, especially in the black community. They were very successful. And or they were victims of the crack epidemic. I'm going somewhere with this, y'all. That ushered in a lot of criminal activity, such as what? An increased frequency of prostitution, child trafficking, child abuse and elderly abuse, child and elderly abandonment, domestic violence, robbery and B&Es, murder, and so much more. What am I saying? I'm saying that in a minute, we're going to focus on the Pluto and Scorpio generation. The Pluto and Scorpio generation time period, primary time period, is from November 1983 to November 1995. So how many years is that between 83 and 95? 12 years. 12 years. Now, if I'm correct, a 12-year cycle corresponds with the Jupiter or Jupiterian cycle in astrology. Jupiter is over expansion of one's consciousness, awareness. It's about really gaining clarity. So, how can I say this? Before we can talk about them kids, we got to talk about their parents that gave birth to them. Their parents were the ones that were, most of them were privileged. They got to go off to college. They became the middle class. They worked long hours. They wore fabulous clothes. They bought houses. They had real estate. They did all that fabulous stuff. And or, meaning it could have been a combination. It could have been either or a combination. Or they were victims of the crack epidemic. That whole period and what those parents experienced was the increase of prostitution, abuse to children and the elderly, the abandonment of children and the elderly. It was an increase in violence, robberies, murder, etc., etc. Remember, there's a 12-year period for those Pluto and Scorpio children. And that 12 years says it is promised from this particular generation of children I'm talking about, that there's going to be an expansion in humanity's awareness about this realm, about this place. So, Now, those parents that were born in the night, I mean that that were born in the 1960s plus or minus, the parents. Now they have grown up and they have children. They're living their lives, their best lives, whether they were just being ghetto fabulous or just ghetto and on drugs, whatever the case may be. Anyway, that was a big crime period, is what I'm saying. And these children, those Pluto and Scorpio children, were born out of that. They were born out of crack. What do you call it? Crack not infested, crack addicted mothers. They were born out of sperm that had been what do you call it? Impacted by a parent's drug usage. Those kids were born out of that. Those kids were born in a period when I just did the other video for Mother's Day, when Big Mama was gone and there was no one there to take care of some of them, and those kids would be in a home abandoned by themselves, while their parents was off on drugs, or their parents, if the parents were had a reasonable life, may have left that child in the care of a child care provider, a babysitter, and Lord knows what happened to them. What am I saying? I'm saying that the Pluto and Scorpio generation children are the recipients of the ills that emerged due to the social, what we call it, social growth? No. Due to the state of the society, the parental society. Due to the state of the parental society. What am I saying? Many of their parents didn't have time to look out for them. Not to say they didn't care about them nor love them, but they may have been busy working long hours and couldn't give them their time themselves. But instead, like that generation, the parents bought them a lot of things. Bought them shoes and clothes and different things like that. But they didn't have the nourishment or nurturing from the parents. The parents didn't have time to listen. That was one of the ills that this younger generation experienced. Where some others in that generation experienced being left at home and abandoned and were without food, etc., etc. And so what am I saying? I'm talking about this Pluto and Scorpio generation because I'm trying to go somewhere with it. That was born between 1983 and 1995 is another set of unique individuals. And this particular set of unique individuals, how can I say? See, either I have to read or this. Let me see. Let me stop. Our world structure. It has always been a plan in motion. But things don't always go as we planned them, not even for the powers that be. Sometimes they just gotta ride the wave when the wave comes. So, the powers that be, of course, have always had a plan, or always, I say, known that when the opportunity presented itself for the world to advance itself or upgrade itself, it must. What am I saying? I'm saying if you strip away almost everything and just leave the fact that eventually mankind would technologically advance one day, the powers that be already knew that one day would come. Who knows when that day will come? We don't know. They don't know. But one day, the advancement happens. the awareness is tapped into. Well, it's time for the world to upgrade. While the powers that be are riding that wave as it comes, there's other things going on. Things don't always happen as we plan. How can I say this? I can see it in here. I can't articulate it out of my mouth. So, what am I saying? I'm saying that we were scheduled to advance or update our world construct to include our most recent levels of advancement, especially in technology, medicine technology. Whenever it comes, we upgrade. The powers that be, of course, would prefer that all other aspects of life were let's just say manageable, easily maneuvered to accompany the world's upgrade or update. Easy. But I'm trying to say that the Pluto and Scorpio generation, those born between 1983 and 1995, were a wrench in the gears for the powers that be. I don't know how to say it no other way. That generation of young folks, so unique, a neat, unique breed, were and are a wrench in a gauge to the powers that be. Oh, I wish I knew how to say this, because they're not the only one, but I'm focusing on them for a reason. Man. Anyway, I talked about their parents and what their parents was busy doing and what emerged because the parents was busy or busy working or busy indulging in the street or whatever. It created a certain type of baby. You know, the Pluto and Scorpio baby. These was babies that seen death and destruction from the moment they pop out the womb. They are the let's say offsprings of death and destruction themselves. They came from death and destruction. They came at a period of harsh change to humans' DNA, to humans' intellect. You know, so these are a particular breed of people. And so, how can I say this? What I want you to get is that the Pluto and Scorpio generation are divine beings. They divine. All of them. These youths. These young folks. I must understand that that's plus or minus. You know, when I start talking about 1983 to 1995, it's plus or minus. But they are a particular breed. And they are divinely created and inspired. Let me see. Let me try to read. The Pluto and Scorpio generation, November 1983 to November 1995. This generation's parents. Well, that generation's parents are college graduates, what I just said, strong middle-class Americans, privileged, successful, and or victims of the crack epidemic that ushered in criminal activities such as prostitution, child trafficking, child abuse, elderly abuse, child and elderly abandonment, domestic violence, robbery, B&Es, murder, and so much more. It says the Pluto and Scorpio generation, the infants, children, and youths of this time period witnessed and lived through these horrible situations and circumstances. The effects of these chilling past circumstances and situations and experiences manifested a unique generation. So, I continue to read. The people of that generation are a mix and match of. So listen to this, y'all know I'm critical, but listen. Remember this Pluto generation is a divine generation. They are narcissists, egomanias, greedy, covetous, selfish, overindulgent, homicidal, cheats, swindlers, homebreakers, shoplifters, moonlighters, disloyal, quarrelsome, dazed and confused, violent, savage, self-serving, uneducated, clever, know-it-alls. I'm not through. Hustlers, tramps, stalkers, suicidal, sociopaths, stoners, addicts, deaf, restless, rebellious, unruly, defiant, disorderly, dazed. They're hackers, brutal, vengeful, calculating, imaginative, ingenious. That's it. Yes. I'm talking about the Pluto and Scorpio generation. Those were just some various terms that define that generation of Pluto and Scorpio. They have been divinely designed and ordained to serve a purpose in this world in the near future. And all of those various character traits I just, named off, they possess because it's going to help them fulfill their mission in this world. A person like me, or an older person, looks at this younger generation as very ungodly. But it takes ungodly to deal with ungodly. Now, again, I apologize that this video didn't, flow very well, nor has it made very much sense. And so I'm trying to briefly recap right now that I got all of that out. But I'm not done. I'm still going somewhere with this. But I started this video and talked about the story of ICARUS. Then I read from the King James Version Bible about the fall of Babylon. ICARUS and Babylon are comparable to our world construct, our world leadership, or the powers that be. And just what kind of tremendous ego it has. And it has acquired its ego because it has continued to reach levels of mastery, but never having any self-imposed limitations. I'm going somewhere with that. And it has kept climbing and achieving beyond its actual capabilities. And because the powers that be, ICARUS, Babylon, has continued to ascend with its what is the word, achievements. There's come a generation, the Pluto and Scorpio generation, that is here to, I wrote it here, I think I wrote that right. I'm gonna read. The Pluto and Scorpio generation is the onset of the karmic restitution owed to our powers that be, ICARUS, Babylon, humanity, for their existence and their works and their deeds performed on this earth over the course of the history of the existence of our human species. So, what am I saying? I'm saying all of those rare and eccentric character traits that the Pluto and Scorpio generation possess, they possess because they will be administering, we can say, the punishment to humanity for the works that humanity has done. And many of the works that humanity has done, especially the powers that be, have been works that far exceed our abilities. I'm going somewhere. I wish I could do much better. Anyway, I'll finish reading. The Pluto and Scorpio generation is the divinely ordained revolutionaries. Are they possible? It could be possible. They are archangels manifest in the physical. Okay? What am I saying? I'm saying, hey. Due to the works of the prior generations, we created a particular, we say, breed of people, Pluto and Scorpio. And they are the onset. They are the very first generation that's specially cultivated to deal with the establishment and the circumstances and situations that we are dealing with and will deal with for a purpose. Because there is some evidence that has come to me, and I'm gonna share some of it. One of it. That's what I'm saying. One of the pieces of evidence is that going back to the Scorpio and Pluto and Scorpio generation, their parents, those parents that was working all them long hours, making all that money and building their best life, they were aware. They knew that it was not going to be beneficial to their lives overall. Those that were involved with drugs, alcohol, they knew that, partaking in that lifestyle was not going to be useful to them, nor the people up under their care, nor the rest of humanity. They knew. The powers that be, whatever they were into, we about to go into that, during that time period and before that, they already knew that there were certain works and deeds that they were partaking in that was not going to be beneficial to them nor the rest of humanity. But everybody kept doing what they wanted to do because they were ego driven. Ones kept making money, ones kept technologically advancing, and one kept partying. Even though they knew it was not beneficial to themselves, nor would it be beneficial to the future of humanity, they just kept right on and moving forward and advancing and partaking in their and seeking and pursuing their egotistical desires. And as a direct result, a particular generation was created. And that generation that was created is what? Pluto and Scorpio generation. Here is our divinely designed revolutionaries, here to make sure that the karmic restitution owed to all of humanity is paid. And I'm going somewhere with that. Hopefully that made sense. And so hopefully that made it make sense why I started with the Greek mythology tale of Icarus. It's the same thing. And then went into the King James Version Bible talking about Babylon. The fall of Babylon is the same. And the fall of Babylon is this Pluto and Scorpio generation. Oh, let me stop. See, I be trying to read. And I'm about to read y'all comments in a minute, y'all. Now, before I go on, because I still got some more to do. I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm quarantined still. They ain't opened anything back up. I need y'all to take a look at our world construct, especially area of business and economics and things like that, marketing. I made a video called What Are Pyramids? And in that video, I talked about the social structure and the distribution of all the life-sustaining natural resources to every individual in humanity at any given time. That pyramid needed. That overall world construct got broken. Is what I'm trying to say. It got broken. We broke it. How can I say it? Going back to the Pluto in Scorpio generation. You know that generation between 1983 and 1995. They parents began to breaking that system. Remember that system, it took over 2,000, close to 3,000 years to build. But it's during that time period, them people born back there in the 1960s, give or take, they began to break that system. And then their children, these Pluto and Scorpio kids, destroyed it. And then all it took was the corona to just knock it on out. But the powers that be got to ride the wave to whatever come. They still got their big agenda. I'm trying to make it make sense. So much going on. They broke it. So, understand that system, I'm talking about the economic system, what do they call it? Commerce, economics, finances, however it's labeled, got broke. That generation that built themselves up to the middle class, when that middle class started getting weak due to changes in our economy, they were the first ones hustling, committing fraud, and different things like that. And that was money lost from our system. See, people don't be telling the truth about what's really going on. It was from some of the first people that was hustling this system. We broke the system. Then, during them parents, when them drugs came in and all of that destruction was taking place from drug usage, alcohol usage, prostitution, abandonment, all those things, people was hustling. We broke the system. We broke the system. I never took time for me to protect. I did better if I went ahead and calmed myself down. We broke the system. I talked about the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio called Catch Me If You Can, where he was going around uttering and publishing. We broke the system. Credit card fraud been on the rise. We broke the system. Now, why am I talking about the crimes that the general populace commits in order to acquire their desired lifestyle? It is because, number one, we broke the system. And another thing is because, remember, the title of this live stream is If It Moved. Say, man will not admit his fall. Man will not admit his fall. Y'all hold on. My stuff about to lock up. I'm going to just let it finish doing what it's doing. And then I'm going to come back. George, you say moon represents the things that are hidden. Yep. I didn't know about the movie Bird Box, but to me, it's been more like Groundhog's Day with Bill Murray. That movie, oh my God, if you ever seen that movie. Yes, I saw that movie a long time ago. I never really could get into it, but I seen him a couple of times. So we broke it. I'm back. What am I saying? Why did I go back to the first page? It is because, man, the people that are in power, they won't tell you that they failed. They won't tell you that the economic system was never secure. They won't tell you that. They won't admit their failure. Just like ICARUS. ICARUS didn't admit his failure. Or he didn't admit his limits. He didn't admit his limits. He did not. And therefore he failed to death or his demise. That the same thing is happening with our world structure and our relative powers that be. That they won't acknowledge that they have limits and restrictions that they must adhere to. They won't admit it, so they'll fall. That's the fall of Babylon. So what am I saying? Since at least the 1980s, during that Pluto and Scorpio generation, that 12-year Jupiterian period that promises humanity that you will be able to see that your consciousness will expand about the realm that you live in or the construct that you are within, promise that you would see. And so what was being revealed to us during that time period, even though we couldn't see, the majority of us couldn't see, we were learning that our system wasn't secure back then. Again, we broke the system. When our economy began to change or was weakened or threatened in any way, people that had already went off to college and acquired debts and or began to buy houses and real estates and had a lot of what they call investments, when any of those things were threatened or began to waver, they frauded the system. They began to break the system. The ones on drugs, well, they frauded the system too. Everything from, again, uttering and publishing, credit cards wasn't real hot, but a few credit card frauds, all that stuff was happening, but it wasn't popular. Fraud really didn't get popular until people's identity started being stolen, and what was it called? A hacker started hitting these computer systems and stuff, these programs, whatever they call. That's when it got popular. That's when it became public awareness about it. But this has been going on, is what I'm saying, since the 1980s. We broke the system. And then the Pluto and Scorpio generation has come to age. Remember, they were born between 1983 and 1995, give or take a little bit. They destroyed the system. Number one, remember, one of their character traits is they rebellious. They didn't go to school. They didn't want to learn what our system wanted to teach them. They already had a natural inbred knowing, because remember, they divinely inspired and divinely created. So they already have a level of wisdom, and it is not what our system wanted to teach them. So they was totally rebellious against that. The next thing they was rebellious against, the system. They didn't want to work. They didn't want to work. So guess what? They didn't pay into the system or the Social Security, or they didn't uphold the various social constructs. We broke it. They are truly the first generation to really destroy, put a really, what they call it, dent in our world's construct. They are a special breed. What else haven't they done? It was something else I was supposed to about. Common frauds, hackers, uttering and publishing, insurance fraud. They won't glitch that out. I'm saying again. Unemployment fraud. Because they breaking the system. They destroying it. And so, I need y'all to look over here at this image right here. As you can see, with the caption I got. The caption is breaking a wild horse. So we're starting to see into the future now, if any of this makes sense. that Pluto and Scorpio generation is destroying. They are officially destroying our world's construct. They were divinely called to do so. They were divinely inspired to do so. And so remember that this world construct is supposed to die and it's going to be resurrected. You gotta remember that. Once this construct is resurrected, they're going to have to break. Y'all watch this. They're going to have to break that Pluto and Scorpio generation. They're going to break the Pluto and Scorpio generation. So I want to go back, and I ain't done, y'all. How long we been out here? 2 hours and 20 minutes. I'm still trying. Going back and talking about the Pluto and Scorpio generation. Now, the people of that generation are a mix and match of these things. These are just some. And this is what the system, the New World Order, is going to try to break. Because they wild horses. They are narcissists. So how are they going to deal with narcissists? Egomaniacs, greedy, covetous, selfish, overindulgent, homicidal, cheats, swindlers, homebreakers, shoplifters, moonlighters, meaning they never sleep, disloyal, quarrelsome, meaning they can't even work for them. They tearing the system down from the inside out. Quarrelsome, dazed and confused, violent, savages, self-serving, uneducated. But when I say uneducated, you gotta remember they have a natural God-given propensity, of awareness. Okay, if that makes sense. They're clever, know-it-alls, hustlers, tramps, meaning there's no bars hold with them, stalkers, suicidal. I ain't gonna say some words. I ain't trying to get banned off here. Sociopaths, stoners, addicts, deaf, relentless, restless, rebellious, unruly, defiant, disorderly, dazed. I said hackers. Brutal, vengeful, calculating, imaginative, ingenious. These are terms that define the character traits of the Scorpio and Pluto generation. Now hold on. Check this out. Check this out. The Pluto and Scorpio generation, the older period or older population of that generation have had kids. And so they are an exaggerated exaggerated, their offsprings and their character traits are more exaggerated than what I read. They have been divinely formulated or cultivated and born in this world to be revolutionaries. And so in the near future, as well as the distant future, our powers that be have before them the challenge of breaking these wild horses whose I don't know the words. Let me see if I can put it in other words, because I be trying to read and break it down. What am I saying? I'm saying because the world has been what it has been and has done what it's done, it's created a particular generation of people. And these generation of people have been divinely created and allowed to come in this world to deal with this world and the powers that be. Since the 80s, we've destroyed that whole construct with every type of fraud you can think of, up and down. But the powers that be will never let you know just how weak and and vulnerable that whole system really is. It was never secure. It has totally been destroyed and, well, infiltrated and destroyed. So now they have to build up a new construct, is what I'm saying. But it's going to be hard for them to do it because we have this generation of wild horses as well as their seed that has come, that is much more advanced in their character traits, more advanced in their character traits. All for the purpose of what? Destroying the system. And so the system, how can I talk about? You know, our system has been developing AI for the purpose of it managing humanity or managing the population. Robotics don't have feelings. Robotics don't die. And so so hard. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it alone. Understand, it will be man against technology, and it's this particular generation that is going to go to war with this system and the construct. I'm gonna leave it alone because I still got somewhere else to go. So let me read. Let's see. The credit card fraud, embezzlement, pyramid, tagging, underground. Okay. Anywho, let's see. The parents and offsprings broke the system. Okay, they were wrench in the machine. I talked about that. Let's see. The fall of Babylon and man. Okay, now let's talk about The Simpsons, who premiered December 17th, 1990. I remember that like it was yesterday. Since has become popular for its predictions of the future. What Pam was talking about. The predictions of the future. But what else? And so what I want to do right now, y'all, I don't know how this is going to go like the rest of it. Y'all know every night, it's messing up. I'm going to wait. Every so often, I got to make a messy live because it'll be just that much information. Oh, shoot, I done clicked the wrong thing. Okay, we're going over to another screen now. I'm over here, y'all. Now, what we about to do? All of this fits together. It does fit together. I done made a mess, y'all. But we got one more place to go. And the one more place is to visit The Simpsons. Why? I remember that Christmas, that December when it came out in 1990. I remember. Because I just had my first child, my son. And I was going to visit his father right before Christmas. And when I walked through the door, The Simpsons was just coming on. I remember it. At that time, I never would imagine that The Simpsons would have survived 30 years. At that time, I never would have imagined that The Simpsons would become so popular, especially as a program that predicted our future events. Never would have imagined. But I never imagined that The Simpsons was like a marker in time. It's really a marker in time. And so I'm gonna try to show you how it's a marker. We know. Well, let me see. Maybe I could do this like this. I don't know how this is gonna be. I don't know how this is gonna go. I'm just about to try. Okay. Is it gonna let me do me? Okay, I'm gonna just go here. I don't know how this is going because I don't know. Oh. Is it? Don't act up. Oh, okay. I know I ain't got much time on here. I done burnt all my time up. I'm on Google. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. what is supposed to put a disclaimer out or whatever it is. It's for entertainment purposes, study purposes, sharing purposes, all that kind of stuff purposes. I don't own none of this. So let me go to Wikipedia. Is it gonna let me do it? Let me go over here. Cause all my stuff about to freeze up and lock me out. Hot mess, hot mess. Okay. Oh, it's did it already. Yep. I knew it. Who was that? Real? Come and let me see your face. Come and let me see your face. Where you been? I'm live. It's messing up.
Oh,
I done made a mess anyway.
Definitely.
Oh yeah. How was that going? Wait, I like them pants. Oh, they go to the other shirt.
But it was basically her mom and friends there.
Oh, so y'all wasn't social distancing?
It was just a couple of people.
Yeah. Wasn't it you and Malik? That's a couple right there. Then Destiny.
The group can be 10 or less.
Was it 10 or less?
I mean, it was like 12 or 13.
Just a little bit
off.
off.
But me and Destiny was in the front room. We was in the front room.
With the baby?
Yeah.
So the baby was number 13, 14 person?
He was asleep.
I'm traumatized. It's messing up. I done made a hot mess of a video. Look how they playing me.
Why?
Because they all this to me. What can I get? What you bring here?
Nothing.
Let me see what that is.
Really got nothing. What, my jacket?
Oh, I thought you had bags when you came in. But I need something. I am so thirsty.